Bone broth. I absolutely love it. I never thought that I would ever say that. I'm not really a broth kind of girl, or didn't used to be, but I've been making it for the past 3 years now. And in the last 3 months, I've been consuming it nearly every day. It's renowned, obviously, to be a comforting and nourishing remedy when we have a cold or flu or under the weather, and really for good reasons, because there are a lot of nutrients, minerals, vitamins, a lot of benefits, and it's something that I personally feel the difference when I consume bone broth and I'm under the weather, which is rare. But the other thing I consume it for is it's actually also very good for the bones, good for the connective tissues, good for the collagen production. So it's something that I have incorporated in my diet for the last 3 years, and today I am sharing one of the recipes. This one is the one at the moment. It may change, but I've pretty much been perfecting my bone broth recipe. So the ingredients I use are bone marrow and also chicken wings. There's also shallots, but whatever I have on hand, it might be onions, red onions, right? But today is shallot, definitely garlic, also laurel leaves or bay leaves, herb de Provence, which is a mix. I think it says thyme on there, but it's not. It's herb de Provence. So, and also not all the time, but when I have it on hand. This is one of those cubes. Vegetable broth that I add just for flavor, but not always. And I also add other spices along the way. This is the pots that I am using. Probably can hold about, I think, 2 liters more or less. Again, I'm not big on measurement, but that's more or less what it is. And also coconut oil. Sometimes I use goose fat as well, but today is coconut oil. First, I'm going to prepare all my ingredients before putting everything on the stove. I have now prepped all the ingredients that I needed to prep. I cut the shallot in little cubes. I am going to put 5 cloves of garlic in this broth. I usually put that amount, quite a lot of garlic, because I just like to have a lot in my broth for the added benefits. And I am putting them whole because I'll talk about the reason why later on. I removed the germs, which is I found out that sometimes people get stomach upset from garlic, and that comes from the germ inside. But I believe that it's more if you're consuming raw garlic, not so much when it's cooked. But anyway, I'm in the habit of removing the germs, so I did that. And the next step is to brown the bone marrow, because it's going to render in no fat, because it's going to render some fats that I'm going to use to then brown the chicken wings. So I'm going to do that first. I have now been putting the bone marrow in my pot for 2 3 minutes, and you can see the amount of fat the bone marrow have rendered alone. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that to then put the chicken wings to brown in the bone marrow fat. Now the chicken is nice and brown as well, and I have quite a bit of fat from the bone marrow and the chicken wings. So I'm going to remove the chicken wings and put in my shallots and garlic to saute for a little bit. I'm going to turn the temperature down also while frying the shallot and the garlic. I turn the stove down before putting the shallot and the garlic to prevent them from burning. And I'm also going to add at this point just a little bit of coconut oil. I like to add to the broth either coconut oil or goose fat from time to time. So today is going to be coconut oil before putting my shallot and garlic. So about a tablespoon, even though there is plenty of fat just yet, but that's the idea of the bone broth to get the good fats going. In goes my shallot. And I'm going to give this a little bit of a stir before putting in the garlic. And then I'm gonna add the cloves of garlic. And I don't let this saute for too long. I don't need them to be super brown, just for the flavors to come out. I mean, it will be sitting in the pan for a few hours, so the flavors are going to come out either way. So this is pretty much what I look for, right? I don't want to get this to burn. And now, on top of this, I'm gonna put in the bone marrow and the chicken wings. And this is when the apple cider comes into play. I love apple cider. I use it in many things, but I also read that putting a little bit of apple cider on the bone marrow and the chicken wings brings out the flavor and helps also for the nutrients, minerals to come out and to flavor the liquid. So, and I actually really noticed the difference that there's a lot more flavor when I add a little bit of apple cider vinegar, which I add at this point, just a little bit on the top of the bone marrow and the chicken, and that's that. Then I'm putting in my the cube vegetable stock cube. You don't have to add that in, but it does add a nice flavor. And this one is really good. Like a lot of them can be full of really pretty crappy stuff, but this one is very good. It's organic and there's no palm oil. It's actual shea butter that they're using, which I really like. And there's no sugar, no added um, additives and that kind of stuff. So it's really good vegetable stock. And then I'm also adding my three bay leaves or laurel leaves, and I'm gonna add some salt. Not too much at this point because I will taste it later on because the vegetable cubes sometimes have quite a bit of salt. So even though I love salty food, so but just a pinch of salt for now. I will taste it later on when it's been cooking, simmering for a while. And I'm also going to add some black pepper. And comes in the water that I've boiled already. And my kettle is like, yeah, so it's roughly, this is 1.5 liters that I've put in there. And I'll probably add on as it goes simmering along. But for now, I'm just letting it sit on a very low fire for at least a couple of hours. It depends. I've done a couple of hours to 20 full 24 hours, but I'll come back and show that part. For now, I'll just leave it, put the lid on, and that's it. Hasta luego. And I just remembered that I forgot the herb de Provence, so I'm gonna add them at this point. A little sprinkle that gives a lot of flavor. And now that's it. My broth has now been simmering for almost 2 hours. That would be enough by now if you wanted to turn off the stove. But I'm gonna leave it to simmer for probably 6 hours, I think. Like tonight for another 2 to 3 hours, and tomorrow again because it is actually for tomorrow. But it looks beautiful, and you can see the bone marrow starting to like detach from the bone. And like I said, I'm gonna let this simmer do its thing for a few hours. This is now the day after, and you can see the liquid has reduced somewhat. It has now simmered for 5 hours yesterday, so you can see the beautiful color and then the flavor. I tasted it, and then there's enough seasoning. I'm quite happy with what I put, and I'm just gonna leave it like this. But yes, just a beautiful color. You can see how everything is coming together. And today I'm gonna add some more water and leave it to simmer for another 2 to 3 hours. My bone broth has now simmered for 8 hours and it is looking exactly how I want it to look. Love the color. You can see that everything has combined beautifully, and there's a lot of healthy fat again from the meat and the bone marrow and the little bit of coconut oil that I added, which is not that much, but you can see how much fat it has rendered. So 8 hours. I've done many different um, time as a when I'm making broth. So like I said, maybe 2 hours might be enough, but the longer the better. Also, this is one of the ways that I'm doing it at the moment, but I also have done this with the carcass of a chicken. If I buy a whole chicken, which is very rare, I mean, even this for me, I was vegetarian for many years and also a vegan for 2 3 years. But anyway, I won't get into it. But now I started eating meat again, even though it's a lot more veggies and that kind of stuff. But meat here and there when I feel like it. But the bone broth is something that again I find very beneficial. So that's also why I am sharing it. But you can do this with any form of bones, to be honest, and also using fish broth. Also, it's the same principle. If you're not too keen on the meat, then fish bones broth is also an option. Now I'm going to take out the chicken and the bone marrow, and I will show you why I was leaving the whole garlic in there. There's different ways that you can have this. A lot of people strain everything and just have the clear broth, which I also do if I am fasting and I'm not eating any solid food. Then I would strain it, which I will show actually right now. But first, I'm going to take the bone marrow, the chicken wings, and also the laurel out of the broth. I have now taken out everything, the chicken wings and the bone marrow, and you can see the bone marrow has shrunk and just falling off the bone. And bone marrow actually is something that I also just discovered by making the bone broth. I never ate that in my life, but it's actually really tasty. Very tasty, and it melts in your mouth. Absolutely, absolutely delicious. And I like also this way of making the broth because the chicken wings, again, not something that I like myself, but when it's in the broth, then of course the same thing. It just falls off the bone, so I just make more meals out of that, right? Making a chicken salad or whatever, just add it to something else another day. So I find this a very efficient way of cooking. I'm getting this beautiful broth that I can use to consume on its own, but also cook with. Again, add it to other dish, and also with the bone marrow and the chicken, like I said, to make another meal another time in the week or whatever. So I'm left with now the liquid and the fat, and you can see the bits of onions and also the whole garlic that I was telling you about. So if I am fasting, like I was saying, this is what I would do. I would just strain all the onions and the garlic so that I'm left. Just do this very quickly, right? And it's usually how it is consumed, right? Having this beautiful clear broth and just have that or use it in other dishes, right? And I would like put the onions and everything back if they want to go back into my pot. But a lot of the time, I don't. I just also just consume it like that with the onions and the garlic, as it is. If I am not fasting, what I do, you can also, really love the way of doing this also because I found out by fasting and wanting to have everything but not having the solids. What I do is I actually put the bone marrow, so I'm going to show you putting the marrow back if I'm not cooking with it, because a lot of the time you can see how soft it is. I do something else with it, but I put the marrow back into the broth and then I blend this. So I'm going to go ahead and do this so you can see how it comes out. I just blended the onions, the whole garlic, and the bone marrow, and I am left with this beautiful, creamy broth. It's just so delicious and so heartwarming, full of nutrients, minerals. Like I said at the beginning of the video, just good for the connective tissues, the production of collagen, a beautiful broth to have in the wintertime, which is definitely here in my part of the world. So this is very welcome. And I've been having this every day. You could also freeze this if you'd like to save it from well, for the times where you are feeling under the weather or just when you feel that you need it. But yeah, finding out, I really did this by chance to mix the whole garlic and turn it to this almost like a soup, but it is a broth, but it's absolutely delicious and healthy.